Okay, AZ&T in the building. We got TSN reporter Farhan Lalji coming up on this episode. If you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button.
Hi everybody, Farhan Lalji from TSN. I am thrilled to be on with Ryan, and I only touch greatness. It's the only reason I'm on with him, because he is great.
Hayes, entertainment exclusive.
Ryan Hayes. I never stop. I Only Touch Greatness podcast.
The number one sports podcast in Vancouver with Ryan Hayes. Roll it up and fire it up.
The background, it all looks good.
Yeah, got the personalized and everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's last year's. You know how they screwed up the first batch of jerseys last year, and then they gave me the free second one. So.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good.
All right. So, yeah, I'm Ryan, by the way, and it's nice to kind of meet you. I'm always the guy that's yelling in the stands when you're walking by, and I'm going, Farhan Lalji.
You're not the only one. There's a few that yell things good and bad, so it's all fun. I miss it.
It's all good. I am always yelling good stuff for you. So, yeah, basically just want to talk a little bit about your early days and then get into some recent stuff. You graduated from SFU. Did you always want to be a sports reporter?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think I always thought it'd be a cool thing to do, but I didn't necessarily see kind of a real possibility to do that just because of the way the industry was in the Vancouver market, right? I didn't want to move and go to a small town and do all of that stuff. And, you know, there were so few television stations back then, and you knew everybody who was on them, and you thought they were good. You know, they'd been around forever, and you thought they'd be around forever. And so I kind of thought I'd wind up getting into the PR side of the business. I never really expected to get in front of the camera, but glad it worked out the way it did.
All right. And you joined TSN in 1997. What was your first job?
Oh, my first job at TSN?
Yeah.
First job at TSN was, you know, we had what's called the Western Broadcast Center that was open for a while from like 97 to 99. So it was kind of a combination of things. I was on the air as a reporter. I was a fill-in anchor, and then I was also a production coordinator. So I handled a lot of the stuff behind the scenes and got our, you know, shows put into place and scheduling and all that stuff. So it was kind of just a collection of different roles to kind of create a full-time position before they made me full-time on air.
Okay. You've reported many big sporting events: the Stanley Cup, NBA Finals, Grey Cup, Olympics, U.S. Open. Do you have a favorite memory or event?
It's a good question. You know, I really enjoy covering Olympics. You know, I was in Athens for the first, you know, that was my first Olympics I had a chance to cover. And that was a lot of fun. You know, a Summer Olympics in a place like Greece was just an unbelievable experience. The Dream Team lost their first game there, right? I was there for that. Perdita Felician, you know, she was a big name athlete going into it. Usain Bolt, I've had a chance to cover. I did track and field at the London Olympics, which was a really good memory, just covering a lot of the top guys there. Vancouver, going to, I was in Whistler Station there for that event, and I was there for some pretty cool events, good and bad. I remember the luger from Georgia, a guy named Nodar Kumarashvili, when he passed away. I was pretty close to that accident, and some of the great memories with the Canadians there, along with covering the gold medal hockey game when Sydney scored in overtime. So there's been a lot. You know, Lakers with Kobe and Shaq winning NBA championships and college football playoffs. So it's hard for me to really say one. I've been lucky to have some big time events. Even the Grey Cups have been great. Just to be a part of that, you know, the difference with the Grey Cup is you're kind of a part of the event as TSN, right? So those are some pretty special moments, you know, the 13th man, all of those types of games. So it's all been pretty memorable.
Do you ever meet friend of the show, Cabby Richards?
Oh, yeah. Cabby and I are good friends.
Okay.
We've worked together before on different projects and text every now and again, so he's super.
Okay, that's good. We've had him on once already, too. You're currently the host of the newest High X. You guys won provincial champions in 2017. That's pretty cool honor. What was that like winning that?
It was fun, and I'm actually not coaching the high school team this year. I'm going to take a year off, and I'm coaching my son's youth team. But eventually I'll get back into coaching high school, especially he's 2 years away from being in high school himself. But it was awesome, right? I mean, I've coached for 31, 32 years. It's been a long time, and I've been pretty involved, in the background with BC high school football, trying to help grow the sport provincially, and just to kind of be there when so many other people have won, and then to finally get a chance to do it yourself. Great group of kids that, all the kids I've coached have been good. The kids at New West, especially since 2003, it's been pretty special to just start that program from scratch in 03, and then to kind of win the championship in 2017. It was great just to see a group of guys work really hard, and then to have them end with celebration. You go through these years and there's so many big wins, but then at the end you lose. It was just a different experience to just be in the middle of that celebration and just to watch those kids win and just to do it right from their perspective.
Yeah, I graduated from Centennial, so I know we've always had a good football program. Back in my day, it was Mr. Chung, I believe.
Yeah.
And, just always kept an eye on that stuff, and I know you're really into that. You're 5-time best sports reporter in BC. How does that feel?
It feels good. There's a lot of great people in the industry here, and so many of my good friends, and they've all won their share of awards in different categories. So I certainly don't feel, above, below, or anything different than they are, right? Like, guys like Dan Murphy, who's such a good friend, and we've kind of grown in the business together. And there's been so many others on the radio side with TSN 1040, and, guys like Ray Ferraro, a colleague at TSN, and all those guys have won those Carson Awards. So it's pretty cool to share that stuff with all of them, and also to remember Paul, right, who was such a pioneer in the industry, helping get 1040 off the ground and everything he did at Sports Page. I always used to watch him growing up, and it's a good fraternity that we've got here in British Columbia and in the Lower Mainland, especially. When I go on the road, I don't view them as competitors. I view them as teammates, and also the number of young guys that have come into the industry that were bloggers at one point, and now just to see them grow within the business as well, and either to stay on their own existing platforms, but to also grow in the industry a bit more on the mainstream side, and the guys that have been involved in analytics and kind of watching their careers go. So it's weird just seeing those guys kind of come through. It makes me feel like a bit of an old guy now, which isn't fun, but I guess it's okay. But it's a good group of people that we have here in Vancouver. I think the Vancouver media, especially as it relates to the Canucks, gets a bad rap because I think we're passionate about what we do and are trying to represent the fans the best way we can.
And the so-called house of negativity, right?
Yeah.
I listen to 1040 every single day from 6 a.m. until Sakaris comes on, and then I leave.
Yeah, and I don't view it as the house of negativity. I just think you're allowed to ask tough questions. And from a fan perspective, we want to bring you that information. We want to bring you insight. I just don't believe our job is to cheerlead. And I think most of us have a real deep passion for the market. So in the end, I want to see the Canucks do well. I'm not going to be ashamed to say that, but not to the point where I'm going to cheerlead. I think I need to cover them critically, and I want to see them do well, not because I'm cheerleading for the logo. It's because I want the fans to be able to celebrate. I grew up here. So, I'm not a homer from the perspective of the organization. I'm kind of viewing it from the perspective of the fans. I would love to see this market get to have a Stanley Cup parade. I'd love to see, I talk about my team in 2017, every year, so many great wins, but eventually you lose to finally win. I'd like to see Canuck fans be able to get it right and celebrate it right. And I don't believe my job is necessarily to cheerlead at the front end of that. It's to cover the team critically and provide proper, meaningful information and be as balanced as you can. And some people just believe if you're not cheerleading, you're negative, and I just don't think that's the case.
And we definitely got the core to win us a cup in the next couple of years. I was saying to Kelly Rudy when I interviewed him that I think Pettersson wins the cup before McDavid does.
Yeah, you know what? I could see it. And when you look at the way McDavid competes, he's such a talented guy. But when I look at the way Pettersson competes in all three zones and the hockey smarts that he shows as opposed to just pure talent, I just think you win with that kind of player, right? And I'd be surprised if McDavid didn't win a cup at some point in his career. I mean, he's such a generational talent. He is the most talented player in the NHL, but best overall player, I think other guys can make a case for that. And I think Pettersson is a top 5 player in the NHL now, and I think in the next 2 to 3 years, he can make a case for being the most complete player in the game. And you see him block shots, you see him back check and play 200 feet, and it's amazing what that guy has been able to do at such an early stage in his career, and it hasn't been based on pure talent. And I think the sky's the limit for guys like Pettersson and Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, I heard him talking on the radio today about putting Pettersson on the penalty kill.
Yeah, I hope they don't do that because Pettersson, if you put him there, he'd block shots and he'd get hurt. I just don't think that's the way to win. But if you asked him, he'd want to do it. I think if you would have asked the Sedins in their time to go kill penalties, they would have gladly done it. And I think Pettersson's got that kind of character and commitment to the game and commitment to his team.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the only way I see McDavid winning a cup is if he leaves Edmonton. So
could happen. They may get to that point where they feel that they've gone as far as they can go there as a marriage. And they've got so many other flaws in their lineup that, on the back end and different years in goal and depth of their lineup. So they've got to get better. I mean, when you talk about a 1-2 punch, McDavid and Draisaitl are Crosby-Malkin. Like, they're that level. But when you look at the other pieces those Pittsburgh teams had when they finally won the cup, Edmonton's got to get there, and they're not close to that yet. And McDavid's got to figure it out, too, that when you saw those moments in that series this year against Chicago where Taves, who's not half the talent that McDavid is, out-battle him in his own end, McDavid's got to look at that legitimately.
Yeah, that's for sure. And they've had so many first overall picks and top picks that their teams just ruined them all. And then you look at what the Canucks have done. Even when we finished last in the league and you're supposed to win this lottery and have a high pick, we always were the team that's moving backwards. So on that part, Benning's actually done pretty well.
Yeah, listen, you've got to give him full credit for how they've drafted, because to be able to pick Quinn Hughes and Pettersson where they picked them, I think that's outstanding. And, that they are a good drafting organization. I think they're a good development organization. Obviously, Travis Green's a high-end coach, where they've actually been pretty decent in terms of contracts with their own players. I think where they really, really struggle as an organization is on July 1st. With free agency, that's the one blemish. I think they've had a lot more misses than hits in that area.
Yeah, Judd Brackett's not doing that.
No, you're right. He's not doing that on the free agency side, and he did a great job managing the scouts and that draft team. But you've got to give Benning credit. Ultimately, he's got to pull the trigger and make the final decisions, especially with the first round picks. 2012,
you were Westminster's Citizen of the Year.
I fooled him.
Yeah, but when you saw what were your thoughts when you saw the fire last week down on the pier?
Yeah, I bounce between Burnaby and New Westminster now, and I certainly have spent a lot of time on that pier over the years, and it was sad to see, right? It's just such a historic place, the pier generally, but then also the rebuilding of the pier that they've done over the last few years, and not just the W that they're going to have to take down, but it has become much more of a hub for activity, whether it's the pier, you step back a little bit to Front Street and all the way down to the quay. It's a signature area in New West, so I'm sure they're going to do whatever it takes to kind of rebuild it. But it was disappointing to see, and we're still dealing with the after effects here, because I still coach my son's team, and we've had practices canceled because of the smoke, as bad as it is in the Lower Mainland from the California fires. Just the fire that they had in New West at Pier Park it was disappointing just to deal with the air quality all over the Lower Mainland as a result of that.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I can almost see it from here anyways. I'm right by the John B. Pub.
On Coquitlam.
Yeah.
The owners of that pub are good friends of mine.
Okay, yeah, they know me pretty well. I'm in there every night for football, so.
Yeah, say hello to Tara for me. She's outstanding. Her son and my son have played hockey together.
Okay, I will. I'll end up seeing her tonight. I'm heading there for dinner. Hey, okay, 2010 Orange Helmet Awards. You won Provincial Scholastic Coach of the Year. Those Orange Helmet Awards, is that also one time Brett Favre came?
Yeah, I believe Favre was one of the speakers at it. God, they've had such a great roster of speakers come through for that event, whether it be guys like Franco Harris and Jimmy Johnson and so many others. And, that was a testament to Bob Ackles, right? Because he got that thing started. His name was able to get people up here, right? So it's been a great event. It was disappointing not to have it last year because of COVID. And I know this year they've made an announcement that they're going to have the silent auction. They're still going to do that so they could try to get some money to amateur football. And certainly we need that contribution. So it was great. And as far as that 2010 year, it was a real bittersweet one for me because we had a great team, and it was a team I really, really thought was going to win the provincial championship that year in 2009. And, we didn't. We had some injuries along the way, and we ran into a really good team at Centennial, your school, with Lamar Durant and Mamie Cankalongo. They were such a good team. So it was bittersweet in the spring of that year when they gave me that award, but it wasn't for winning the provincial championship. We certainly would have rather have had that like we did 7 years later.
My very first episode I've ever done of this during COVID, my first guest was Lamar Durant.
There you go. Tremendous player.
Good Coquitlam kid, too. Okay. Do you have a favorite interview that you've ever done?
Wow. I've been asked that before, and I don't know that I have, and I need to come up with a better answer because I've had a chance to interview, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Dennis Rodman just on the basketball side, and people like Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Orr and some great football players, like you name it, I've probably had a chance to interview them in a one-on-one setting, not just in a big scrum. So I've been lucky over the years, but I got to come up with a better answer for the next time someone asks me this, Ryan. I'm telling you, because I've been asked it before and I've just never been able to get one. There's some that just make you laugh, whether it be a guy like Rodman and the stuff that came out of his mouth, or just the passion and intensity with a guy like Jordan. There's been so many, but I gotta go back and look through the archives and try to find that one. So the next time I get asked to do one of these, I've got a better answer.
All right. I've had the Moj on my show with Clint Millardchuk once. That one I drank too much. It was also the first day, and I'm never gonna be drinking that much again on a thing. So Moj gave me shit. But what's it like working with the Moj and Donnie all the time and filling in for them?
Well, they're great. I mean, first of all, Donnie, I grew up watching Donnie, and I introduced Donnie to his wife. So we've got a real good relationship. And as far as Moj is concerned, I mean, Moj even coached with me for a couple of years at New West, and he did a great job. And we've got a big time passion for football. And the thing with Moj is everyone likes to bug him and razz him and make him sound like he's a big oaf, and he's not, because he's a passionate, loyal, caring guy, and he's the hardest working guy in our market. Like, he grinds. He's got a tremendous contact list. Like, his book is big time. And watching him work a Super Bowl, watching him work an NFL game, and that guy controls a room. It's unbelievable. He can walk into a conversation with 3 Hall of Famers that he's never met and act like he's known them forever. And they all look at him, and they've got this look in their eye like, the way you're acting, I know you. Like, I know you, but I can't figure out where I know you. And he's got this way of disarming everybody and just making them feel comfortable. So I love the Moj. I'm a big fan.
Perfect. Okay, all this talk right now going on with the Besser for Dumba. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm mixed on it, right? I think that the Canucks back end needs to improve. Like, they really, really need to improve. I mean, that group is Quinn Hughes. And after that, I mean, Edler and Tanev have given this organization great service, but they're not getting any younger. The injury history behind Tanev, even though he was able to get through it this year. He didn't miss a game thanks to COVID. Otherwise, he would have missed a game. And I'm not disparaging those guys at all, but they're at a different stage in their career. They have slowed down. Troy Stetcher's fine if he's a third pairing guy. If he's playing higher in the lineup, then there's some challenges there. Tyler Myers is good, but not worth what they're paying him, right? I just don't believe he's a $6 million defenseman. I think those guys should be in your top pair, and he's not in their top pair. He's kind of a 4 in that range. So that group needs to get better, and Dumba would immediately enter as the number 2 defenseman if he was there. But at the same time, this club has had such a lack of scoring since the core of the 2011 group left, right? Because even the last couple of years with the Twins, they just weren't scoring as much as a group, including those two. So And I just don't think Brock Besser, who's performed at a high level, there's been consistency issues along the way, injury issues along the way, but we haven't seen the best of Brock Besser yet. And I think he can be an elite scorer in this league. So it's a tough one, because if they trade one for the other, all of a sudden in a year, we're going to be talking about how the top six simply isn't as good or good enough to compete if you shut down Pettersson in the top line. So I'm torn on it. If it happens, it's a hockey trade. They're going to have to give something to get something. But I'd hate to see Brock Besser go. But look, if they could add Matt Dumba, and there's a lot of teams saying this, he would make their D instantly better. And again, he would right away be their number 2 defenseman.
I got a better idea. Why don't we trade Demko to Colorado and we get back my buddy Bowen Byram?
Well, look, Byram's going to have a great future in this league. So I'd love to see them find a way to get him here. And you wonder what the long-term picture is for Demko, because I think he's got a lot of upside. I don't think what he did in those 3 games was a fluke. I mean, those numbers are out of this world. You're not doing that. But can he be a number 1 goalie in this league? Can he be a good number 1? Yes, he can. Could he be a good number 1 next year? Yes, he can. Do you want to roll those dice? Because this team, the way their defense is, the way they're structured, they need elite goaltending. They're just not good enough on the back end. So, if you move Markstrom, do you use the money you would have saved on him to potentially improve your back end? Maybe, but there's not that big ticket free agent player. I mean, you've got Torrey Krug, and then there's a big drop off after that. I just don't think you can improve in free agency. Can you improve in a trade? And if you're giving away Demko, does Demko go as a sweetener so you can pawn off Louis Eriksson's contract? There's a lot of different ways to play that asset.
I would hate to see Demko be a sweetener. He's too good and too valuable. You've watched him come all. We've drafted him. We've built him up, and we built him up and built him up. And now I actually personally would rather keep Demko than let Markstrom walk. But I know that Demko is your only way of getting Byram out of Colorado. So.
Yeah, look, Demko, the one thing they've done is they've raised their asset value, right? Like with him, especially when you heard Pete DeBoer's comments the week after about how, he was basically in the heads of the Vegas Golden Knights, and that affected their confidence and their ability to score against Dallas. So, yeah, he's a great asset. Now, I think they want to keep him for this year and potentially deal with that probably right up at the trade deadline, right? I mean, if they can get some games out of him, because it's going to be a condensed schedule, and before the deadline, maximize asset value and move him there and bring in some sort of journeyman to get him through a playoff run. Maybe that's a smart way to go. But I think Thatcher Demko is going to be a great goalie in this league.
All right, you ever seen the guy that goes to the Canuck games and dresses as Mini Don Cherry?
I haven't, no.
Oh, shit, I thought you would have.
Is that you?
Yeah, I dress up as Don Cherry and go to Canuck games and stuff.
Well, I've been to many, but I guess up in the press box we're a little hidden.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, they had me cranking the siren one game dressed as Don Cherry before he got fired. I was sitting beside Toronto came to town. I was sitting beside in the green guys' seats one time dressed as Don Cherry. I thought you would know him. That's why I threw that out. That's one of my alter egos.
There you go.
Well, definitely Labor Day without CFL. That hurt me, being a Lions season ticket holder. What were your thoughts on that, and what do you think the state of the CFL is?
Well, I think it was disappointing, right? For me, I'm involved with the CFL 12 months a year, and so I like it on opening day, and I like it all the way through. But when you get to Labor Day, it feels different, right? I mean, you've got that fall crispness in the air, and you've got these big traditional rivalry games. And for most people, they believe that the true essence of the CFL season starts then. Kind of got that weekend to themselves because the NFL doesn't start till the following week. And, some people that just aren't as into it in the summer get into it then. So really disappointing to not have it. Really disappointing that there's not a season right now. I just had lunch today with a CFL executive, and we were talking about it, and it just doesn't feel right. And I worry about the league. I think this league has survived so much. I believe it's going to survive this pandemic, but I hope that they don't just pay lip service to the notion that they've got to fix the business model. They really, really need to fix the business model. And it's so difficult to grow your business when you're shrinking your business. And right now they've done that. They've laid off and furloughed so many people that, you need resources and staff to execute marketing strategies. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what Randy Ambrosi comes up with and what the governors come up with. I've got, some ideas, but, there's a lot of layers to get through in terms of fixing it and making the game resonate again with fans across the country. I think they made a mistake as a league to not find a way to play a shortened season. I think they're going to regret it in terms of what 2021 will look like. I think it would have looked better had they found a way to play in 2020, but I do believe the league will survive, and maybe that's just me just assuming they will because they always have.
Yeah, and it's such a league that's driven by fans that you need to have the fans in the stadium in order to survive. My way is to get the young people involved is why don't they have a CFL video game?
Yeah, it's a long time coming, and I know that Football Canada has just developed a video game in conjunction with Doug Flutie's game that he's put on. And I know in the past they've had kind of ways that you could get to a CFL, not necessarily a game phase, but a product phase through Madden and things like that. But they need to have that game. They need to have that game built into Madden somehow, into that brand. People talk about the NFL's involvement with the CFL. That would be the single biggest thing if they could kind of create a relationship either with EA Sports directly or with the NFL directly to find a way to create a CFL version within that game because of how popular it is.
Yeah, and you look at NHL and all that; they have all the Swedish elite leagues and stuff.
Junior teams as well. They've got you can be a junior hockey player and play at that level. So I'd love to see it.
That would be sweet. Moving on to the Seahawks here. I'm a big Seahawks fan too. Go to many games just like you do. Going into week 2, what are your thoughts on the Seahawks going against Cam Newton?
Well, I think it's a different kind of matchup for them to deal with, right? Because of how New England used him last week and Newton's ability to run the football. I think he had the second highest carry total of his career. That's not necessarily, I think, the way New England wants to play with him all the time. But from the Seahawks' perspective, he attacks their front seven, which isn't entirely their strength. Certainly they're great with Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright's good, but, they've got some questions along that defensive line. So, do they feel they can kind of mash him up in there and try to play some ball control football and keep the ball away from Russell Wilson? I think Newton's exceptional. I thought Seattle's secondary would be better in week 1 based on what we were expecting. Jamal Adams was great, but I expected more from that other corner spot. I expected more from both corner spots, to be quite honest. Diggs looked good, but I think they need to get better corner play if they want to have that elite secondary like they had with the Legion of Boom. But offensively, I hope they continue this trend of letting Russ cook. 10 of their first 13 plays in the last game were pass plays. I don't think Atlanta was expecting that at all. And, Belichick's going to be ready. You can't fool Bill Belichick defensively. But I would like to see them let Russell Wilson be more involved early in football games.
I'd like to see him go to DK a little more. I've got DK in all my fantasy leagues.
I agree with you. They should. He's an elite talent.
Yes, he is. I haven't seen anybody like him in a while. I mean, he dropped that one pass that was a sure catch, but he still looked good after that.
Yeah, he did. Had a nice play on the touchdown pass. I mean, I see a lot of Chase Claypool in DK Metcalf in terms of that big-bodied physical receiver. Metcalf's hands aren't as good, but, certainly Claypool still has to go through his rookie season before we can anoint him the way we did with Metcalf a year ago.
Yeah, that's true. That was a hell of a catch by Claypool on his first catch of the career. Do you have a week 2 lock of the week? Because I'm heading over to the John B to put my picks in a couple hours here.
You know what? I'm picking Seattle over New England. I really am. I think they've always played well against Cam Newton. They're 6-2 lifetime against him, and I think they're gonna have some success against that offense and get enough going with their own offense to find a way to win that.
You got another one? Because I always take the Seahawks no matter what happens.
You know what? Truthfully, I've got to get my picks in before the game starts tonight. So when we're done here, I'm going to get through mine.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I got them right here. We can run through them all. We just talked about Wilson throwing the ball. Do you have a Super Bowl prediction?
Well, you know what? I had who did I have going into it this year? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to go back and look at my picks. I had the Seahawks getting there this year. Who did I have in the AFC? Oh, Kansas City. Yeah, I had a Seahawks Kansas City Super Bowl. for this year, and I think Kansas City's going to win it again.
Okay. I mean, those are two really good teams. Do you have a favorite sports icon?
Do I have a favorite sports icon? Growing up, I think my favorite athletes were Walter Payton, the late Walter Payton. On the football side, I was a big Magic Johnson fan in basketball, and I was a big Bobby Orr fan in hockey. And I only kind of caught the late end of his career, but I used to kind of read up as much as I could, watch as many highlights as I could. So he was probably my hockey player growing up.
Okay. Do you have a favorite sports movie?
Slapshot.
Yeah, of course. Everybody says that. All the young, because we interview a lot of prospects going into the draft like this year.
Yeah.
So they all got the younger. They always go with the Miracle and all these things. But yeah, anybody that's already been around for a few years, they always go with Slapshot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you go wrong. It was a classic movie on so many levels. I probably watched it a dozen times. So it was my favorite. Love The Longest Yard, both versions. One of the rare ones where the sequel almost lived up to the original. But yeah, definitely a big fan of Slapshot.
Do you have a personal highlight or a personal lowlight?
A personal highlight or a personal lowlight? It's a good question. Probably, personal highlight was when my kids were born.
Yeah.
I know that's a lame one that a lot of people say, but those are pretty magical moments that you don't get back. Personal lowlight? Not sure. Probably losing a football game somewhere along the way would have been one of them.
Yeah. Okay. Ran through those questions pretty fast.
Yeah. I got a little bit of time left for you.
Yeah, I'm actually out of questions, so we could wrap this up right here. I want to thank you for coming on the show and giving me some time.
Hi, everybody. Farhan Lalji from TSN. I am thrilled to be on with Ryan, and I only touch greatness. It's the only reason I'm on with him, because he is great.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Thank you for that.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Farhan, one thing. When you get out of here, can you shoot the Moj a message and tell him that you were on here and I wasn't drunk this time?
I'll do that right away.
Hey, thank you very much.
Take care.
Hey, take care.